1-800-316-316. Our talkback line's open. Let's hear from Alex in Melbourne. Hi, Alex. Thanks for waiting so patiently.
Thank you, Neil. Yes, John, regarding snakes and before the fall, the words of chapter 3 there, now the serpent was more crafty than any of the wild animals that the Lord had made. Have you got any thoughts on that word craft, why the snake or the serpent was more crafty?
Okay, now remember the word there is not snake. The word is serpent. And later on you read about this serpent in the book of Revelation, who is also described as the great dragon. Now you look at the illustrations of the book of Revelation and the dragon has legs. The snake, the serpent really, in Genesis, is also cursed when sin happens, and he was told by God, from now on, you will crawl on your belly. And the interesting thing is, fossil snakes, we find them. They've got legs. If you pick up a constrictor or a big python, it's got legs. You mostly can't see it, but they're there. It now can only crawl on the ground, and what we found is when it crawls on the ground, it can do that simply because serpent, S, right? Our traditional letter S comes from the shape of a snake, and serpentuous means snake-like. But the distance between its legs has increased since it lost its legs. Surprise, surprise, the same thing sort of happens to us. The number of backbones you've got actually is related to the genes for your legs. I won't go into that. It's a totally different lecture. But in reality, when you look at the wisdom of the serpent is actually a crafty animal, right? When you look at animals come in all levels of crafty. But remember, the craftiness of this creature is now added on to by the craftiness of the devil. This is not just a snake saying, hey, look, there's a good-looking woman. I think I'll try and tempt her. This is a serpent actually with the mind and the power of Satan who is using him. And this serpent, it's a natural serpent for a start because it is judged. And the judgment shows up as a physical judgment upon snakes ever since. And many of them have lost their legs and still lose their legs faster than any other creature. But the judgment on the serpents is because it allowed, I don't know how God judges the guiltiness of animals, but they are judgeable because God even says to the Jewish people, if an ox gores a man to death, that ox is to pay the price. Right, there's a volition in there, a choice of will, and I don't know how God judges that because we can't judge that at all. But craftiness is certainly there in serpents, the way they go around today. They choose what hours to come out. They choose when it's hot. They choose when it's cold. They do have a choosability, and it's a pretty high-level choosability for a creature that sort of has no legs anymore.
Alex in Melbourne, thank you so much for your question. Taking calls, 1-800-316-316. If you've got a question for John Mackay, the creation guy, let's take another question. Doug is in Narrabri in New South Wales. Hi, Doug. Welcome.
Hi. I'm just going back to the mice. We had a mice plague last year, and in Moree, it's not made for flooding, and it had a major flood, and I don't know how many millions or tens of millions of mice drowned in that flood. And there's another woman out towards Barron Junction. She pulled a serpent, a python off the road because she knew it ate mice. So,
yeah. But basically, if I can just interrupt you here, when you look at plagues, there's two factors that are involved. One is you look at the plagues of locusts in the Bible. And there's certainly the fact that even today in Australia, we can predict when the locusts are going to go wild because we keep our eyes on where their eggs were laid last time, and we use infrared measurement. And when we see the eggs sort of beginning to get ready to go, we say, well, there'll be a plague here in 2 months, 3 months. Let's go and treat it now before it starts. Now, in John the Baptist's day, you didn't do that. You ate them, right? Because he would crush up the back end of it just because they look like grasshoppers, right? And mix them with any sort of other food you liked, and then cook them up as a patty. So it wasn't like, just a solid locust you were eating. They would cook them, add a bit of honey, and honey and locust was a little patty that was cooked and it was real sweet. You could do that with the mice if you like, harvest the mice, but we don't have much of a market for harvested mice. But there's always both a natural side to this, and there's also a fact that God has has told his people, and this includes Australia, if you love me, if you obey my commandments, I will. Right? And there's all sorts of promises that come with that. So don't be surprised every now and then we get a country in which nature appears to be out of control. Largely, I suspect it's because we have stopped praying to God for the weather, which stimulates a lot of these plagues. We have stopped asking God, please send the rain or please hold the rain. We have stopped asking God for a total blessing on our crops, and he humbles us. If you've ever lost your whole crop to mice, you can say, Lord, I'm bankrupt. I am really, really in need. But we've forgotten to do that 10 years in a row when we had good crops. So there's all of those factors. Even though we can't pin down any one of them at any time, it's because we aren't God. If we could say, Mr. Prime Minister, because of what you said, there's going to be a mouse plague in Canberra. We can't. We're just not that good. We're not the John the Prophet level of prediction at the moment.
Doug in Narrabri, thank you so much for your call. Our talkback line open 1-800-316-316.